Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Nvidia daily update video. Today, as per usual, let's go over Nvidia stock. Let's go over what is happening to this stock, what we can expect moving into what could be a monumental week next week with the presidential election in America. And that kind of sounds nice to say, presidential election. Something about that, just if you say it out loud, presidential election, just the word and the pronunciation just kind of nicely flows out of your mouth. It feels nice to say presidential election. I feel sophisticated just saying those two words. I don't know why. Anyways, let's jump into it. If you enjoy, of course, as per usual, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my analysis, etc., I do have a membership section on YouTube. That link is down below in the description of the video. For just $3 a month, you get access to my post updates, technical analysis, etc., on Tesla and sometimes other stocks as well that I post as bonus stocks throughout the day. Or for $5 a month, you get access to all of that plus Nvidia daily updates. But jumping into it, Nvidia closing the day up pretty much 2% on the day, closing at pretty much $135.50 per share, which we'll say compared to the market, pretty much in line, maybe an ever so slight outperformance, but pretty much in line with the market. But what does this actually mean moving forward? So Nvidia is looking interesting, right? And the reason it's looking interesting is because it's pretty much closing right at that 21 EMA once again. So we'll see how that plays out. It is above it technically, but it's not very convincing. It's ever so slightly above it, right? It's up like 30 cents above it. So not the most convincing things, in the entire world here. But the main thing I want to be looking at and paying attention to is going to be this, right? So I mentioned how, 135 to 136 is pretty important, but honestly, 137 is also pretty important. Why is 137 important? Which is actually pretty much the high of today, because that was the level that we, oh my goodness, what's going on? That was the level that we actually held. If I bring out this, pretty much this whole kind of week and a half-ish that we were consolidating. If I bring out the line, you can see, bam, right? This was the level that was pretty much holding us for that week and a half, right? This was that major support as we were consolidating between the levels up here in the mid-ish, we'll say 140s to about, we'll say the mid-ish 130s, right? But you can see, if I put this line here, this was the most perfect support that Nvidia was holding, right? Holding consistently every time it came down to this area. And even over here, even though it came down below it, this still acted as a general support area. Then we had a massive red day yesterday. And what did we do today? We came up and retested this area that was acting as a support. And now we turned it into a resistance, right? And that's a little bit of a concern, right? That's not really ideal. Like, this is not good, right? So we had this consolidation zone, massive consolidation zone, broke down below it on this red candle, and then today we came up and retested that, and so far are confirming it as potential resistance, right? Not really ideal. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Nvidia is also closing below my 135 to 136-ish zone, right? Ever so slightly below it. So there are some signs of concerns here, and it's not helping the fact that the market is looking a little bit shaky, which we'll go over very quickly as well, because Nvidia does actually follow the market pretty well, right? If the market looks bearish, Nvidia will probably make its way down as well, and the market looks a little bit concerning, right? So let's talk about this, right? Nvidia, the way I look at it is honestly pretty simple, right? 21 EMA should be still acting as hopefully a support, because it did technically close above it, but again, not convincing. So the easier way to look at it now will be most likely that 130 range. 130 is really important. You can see back here, massive area of resistance, right? And we actually turned it into a support here, and we haven't crashed down below it yet. We went below, but we never closed back below 130. So watch for 130 on Nvidia. If Nvidia closes below about 130, that's when you want to be a little bit more careful, in my opinion. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If I haven't said that already, I'm definitely not a financial advisor. So, hey, don't listen to anything I say. This is just me thinking out loud. But below 130 is where things get a little bit more concerning, because again, massive area of resistance, massive area of support, and it's going to be a pretty important area. And if we lose 130 and close below 130, I do believe Nvidia is making its way back down to at least the mid 120s. Honestly, it could be even as low as the low 120s, right? So that's going to be something you want to watch out for. And despite all of this and everything I just mentioned, all my indicators are still bearish. This is still a red band pointing straight down, still making lower lows. MACD, bearish crossover, also lowered lows. RSI is bouncing a little bit from oversold territories, which unironically makes a little bit more room for downside technically on the RSI now. And the stochastic is officially not only having that bearish crossover, but it's pretty much pointing straight down. So we're in for a potentially a little bit of a questionable situation here, right? Again, as long as 130 holds, I think Nvidia can actually still be, fine. But it's really that 130 psych level that I think can potentially really increase the selling pressure if that decides to break and close down below in the daily chart. So that's going to be the main thing you should be watching for. Now, before I go over to the indices, which I'll cover because that does affect Nvidia, because Nvidia does move relative to the indices, especially QQQ. Let's go over the flow really quickly in terms of options flow for Nvidia. Let me see if I can find it. Where the hell is it? Nvidia is going to be surprisingly, unless I'm blind, surprisingly almost nowhere. to be found. There it is. Hey, all the way down here, pretty much non-existent. So, okay, that's not really good, right? It's not really bad. It's not really good. Options flow is pretty quiet. Towards the end of the day, though, some bullish flow did actually come in over here. So you can see some bullish flow did come in towards the end of the day. So maybe someone knows something, but nothing convincing for sure. Nothing convincing for sure. And this is where I want to kind of turn your attention to the indices. Like I said, Nvidia does follow the indices and does respect the indices, right? Moves roughly in tandem with them, right? So SPY, this is what I mentioned in the Tesla video. SPY and QQQ like to respect that 21 EMA, similar to Nvidia, but even more so, right? They really do respect that 21 EMA. Whenever the market is below or above the 21 EMA, it's bearish and bullish respectively. In this case, we're below the 21 EMA, right? So SPY, you can see here, massive rising wedge, massive gap down below. And then today was the potential area that, you know, hey, maybe this could be reversal. Maybe it's not all that bad. And instead, not only did we sell off the majority of the gains that we had pretty much in the morning-ish of the trading session, but what did the market do? It came right up to that 21 EMA, that yellow line, and found some rejection, right? This is where you want to be really careful. The market, like I said, does like to respect that 21 EMA. And as long as it remains below this yellow line over here, I'd be really careful and cautious. Personally, not financial advice, I could be wrong, but I'd be, you know, I'm personally careful. I'm personally a little bit more on the cautious end here. I'm not holding too many positions. I'm only holding 2 positions right now, Google and Disney. That's pretty much all I'm holding. You know, it's just, you really want to watch out for this, right? Really, really do. And as if that wasn't enough, QQQ did almost the exact same thing. You can see this green line moving upwards right here, acted as a nice little support, always starting from here, nice little support here. And then we unfortunately couldn't do the same thing here. And we crashed down below on that massive gap down on that very bearish day. And what did we do? Also sold off, not as bad as SPY, but still sold off a fair portion of the gains throughout the day. But we also came up to the high of the day being pretty much right at that 21 EMA and confirmed it as a resistance. So the market, QQQ and SPY, need to start closing daily candles back above the 21 EMA. As long as it cannot do that, I assume the market will continue flushing back down and will continue going bearish. And my next target for QQQ, honestly, will be most likely a move back down into the mid 470s roughly, right? That's roughly where I think QQQ can potentially head next, with SPY being probably down around the mid 560s. It's where the next level I would see for the market to go down, which if that were to happen, Nvidia at the very least will come down to 130s minimum, I would guess, right? And that's just kind of how I see it moving forward. With the presidential election next week, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of question marks, potentially some, honestly, I don't want to say it, but there could be some civil unrest depending on how the election goes. So again, that's why I'm staying a little bit on the lighter end. There's no reason to gamble here. You know, if the market does rally off of the election for whatever the reason may be, but whether it's Trump or Kamala who wins, I don't know. There will always be more opportunities. There will always be an opportunity that presents itself. But right now, in my opinion, the way this market's looking, it's looking bearish. And in my opinion, it's also looking very 50-50 in the sense that nobody knows how the election is going to go. Nobody knows who's going to win. And better yet, nobody knows how the market is going to react. So let's see it. Let's, you know, stay patient on it. Let's let the market digest it. Let's let the market do its thing. Let's let this election play out. But strictly off technical analysis, again, Nvidia, looking a little bit on the questionable side, not looking ideal here, to be completely honest. It's not looking very bullish, especially considering the market gap down well below the 21 EMA, and pretty much both of them turned it back into a resistance today. I don't like to see that. I don't feel confident about that, and it's just not something I would be, you know, very happy to enter a trade on, despite me being in Google and Disney right now. Disney because it kind of just does its own thing, to be completely honest, and I actually like the way Disney looks, to be completely honest as well. It's actually holding up pretty damn well with the bands, so I like the way it's holding, and I actually like the way Google's holding. I like the way that Google, I entered it at almost the low of the day. I got a better entry on Google today than if you held the close it had on earnings day before the beautiful earnings that are reported. So I'm very happy about that. And, you know, I do feel confident about Google and Disney as long as they hold my specific levels that I have in my mind, of course. But, you know, that's pretty much all I'm holding. I'm going in pretty light here because, again, I'm letting this election play out and I want to see what happens. But yeah, another reason why I said 130 is important for Nvidia is because despite, you know, obviously just the horizontal levels, that is where this market bias sits as a massive area of support. You don't want to lose this as well, which is essentially what the market is kind of doing right now. Nvidia hopefully can maybe show a tiny bit extra strength compared to the market and maybe not lose that. That would be the ideal scenario. But again, 130, very important level for Nvidia. Watch for that moving forward into next week. But yeah, all that being said, thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Peace.